Hello, my name's Rob Edwards and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we're going to be talking about DragonLance. If you've been around my channel for any length of time, you know that I am fascinated by storytelling, partly because I am myself a writer, but I've also been a tabletop role player since my very, very early youth. I am obsessed with the way stories are told in various cinematic franchises. That's my bread and butter. That's what I'm here for. And while it's not true, I think, probably, to say that DragonLance was the start of that, it was very much around at the same time that I was beginning to form my first attachment to the art of storytelling. I must have been about 14, I guess, when the first DragonLance novel and the first DragonLance D&D module came out. I'm not sure which I encountered first. It could have been the novel Dragons of Autumn Twilight, but it could equally have been Dragons of Despair, DL1, the very first AD&D DragonLance module. A fascinating idea, actually, this principle of putting out novels and adventures which would cover the same territory, so people could read the books, could play the games, could interact with this world in several different ways, and later on, of course, computer games and all the rest of it. Dragons of Despair covers about the first half of Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and I owned both of them. I owned and loved both of them. I've been revisiting the original novel, Dragons of Autumn Twilight, recently. I've been doing it in audiobook format while I've been faffing around doing other things. And I've really been sort of savouring the nostalgia. I've been really enjoying getting back in touch with that. And it's let me see the book in a new light, because I'm not sure I've read it since probably the 90s, I would have thought. So I'm looking at it now with adult eyes, with a lot more experience into the art of storytelling than I had when I originally read it. And it's really given me a new sense of, what makes these books special. And also I've learnt that I've possibly been mispronouncing Caramon and Draconians for the better part of 35 years. But let's put that to one side. The book actually works better than it has any right to. The problem it has faces going into it is that it is doing its best to make a novel out of D&D rules. And I don't know whether this is different if you're not a D&D player, but for me, when Raistlin, the party magic user, uses fine sand as a material component to cast his sleep spell, I'm very much taken out of the novel and into the adventuring world. And I find that kind of distracting. I can kind of hear the dice rattle as he does so. And, it is its own reward. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't offend me at all. I quite enjoy it, but it does mean I experience the book in a way that I don't really for most other novels that I read. The book does rise above these limitations, however, thanks in no small part to some really deep world building, some fascinating lore, and some brilliant characters. There are some really fun characters there. The Kenda Tasselhoff, that wizard Raistlin I just talked about, Tanis, Goldmoon, all of them basically. But the character I was most drawn to on this journey through the novel, I was about to say this read of the book, but I'm only listening to it, is Raistlin's twin brother Caramon. Caramon Majere. He may not be as cool a character as his spellcasting twin brother, or as quirky as Taz, or, even the consummate leader that Tanis turns out to be. Caramon's strength is his right arm and his big heart. He's a likeable, affable giant of a man who seems adept at making connections. He's kind of the centre of it all, really. Not always the centre of the action as such, although actually that quite often too, in fact. But he's the centre of the group. He is Raistlin's brother, And that relationship is a core element of the entire series of DragonLance books. He's got strong ties to Tanis. Kitiara is his half-sister. And even Sturm, in a flashback we get from him, notes that he first felt kinship with Caramon when he arrived in Solace. So he is someone that people kind of glom to, that's a bad word, but people connect with. People like Caramon. And, in response, Caramon is loyal. He's loyal to his friends. But his first loyalty is always to his twin brother, Raistlin. If you need help, Caramon is the kind of guy who will offer it, as long as Raistlin doesn't need him first. His failings as a character are all very human. He's a little too fond of food and drink. He's not, the sharpest tool in the shed, but, he's not stupid. He does just tend to favour action over intense planning sessions. And yes, he does spend a lot of time ignoring Raistlin's, let's say, foibles. But that's family for you, really, isn't it? Basically, to bring this back round to the whole D&D thing, he is the perfect player character. Even now, I've seen studies in 5th edition, the most popular character to play is a human fighter. And that makes sense for why Caramon is such a central part of this story. He's a human fighter with a big sword. He is a big-hearted, affable giant. He is the perfect player character. He is Caramon Majere. So why have I been revisiting DragonLance, you may be asking yourself? Why now? Other than the whole sort of pandemic being bored thing. No, actually, I'm rereading it now because I connect with a few people on Twitter, most notably the Witty and Sarcastic Book Club blog, who are doing a retrospective of DragonLance right now. And as well as my look at Caramon, you can find other articles on that blog about Caramon's twin brother Raistlin, and Tanis and Taz and Flint and all the other champions of Krynn. And I really got into it. I really did enjoy revisiting this world. I had a lot of fun with it, which is why I've suggested to Jodie from the Witty and Sarcastic Book Club blog that we should have a game of the original module, Dragons of Despair. And that's exactly what we did. We didn't gather enough players to have everybody join the party, so we haven't got player characters for every character. But we got 4 players, and I've recorded that session. And that's going to go up on my YouTube channel tomorrow, I think. So keep an eye out for that. I'll be honest, the recording's a bit flaky in places with the sound quality, but we were recording in 3 different time zones across 3 different countries, and it's a modern miracle that it can even happen at all. And if you can get past the slightly dodgy sound quality in places, it's a really fun watch. We had a great deal of fun with it, revisiting that world. So I hope you join us for that tomorrow. In the meantime, that's it from me today. There are links in description for the Witty and Sarcastic Book Club's DragonLance week, and I will be back tomorrow with the play of the start of Dragons of Despair. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.